Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another iTherapy Docs webinar. Most of you know me, but for those who don't, my name is Lucas Grandato. I'm the technical support specialist here at iTherapy Docs. And today we're going to be looking briefly at the training and certification system. The training and certification system is designed to keep track of all of the complex trainings that you as agencies are required to provide to your staff, to maintain for your staff, and ultimately they allow you to provide better care for your individuals. The training and certification system within iTherapy Docs is designed to help you as agencies keep track of and manage those trainings and certifications for your staff. So without further ado, we'll jump in here and take a look at the training and certification system. The first step that we're going to go through is how to actually implement the training and certification system. So if you've never set this up before, we'll go through how to set everything up for your agency. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A section in your Zoom window, or you can raise your hand and I can unmute you and you can ask your question. So the first step to implementing your training and certification system for your agency is going to be under advanced settings. And advanced settings, all the way down at the bottom, second from the bottom, is this training and certification section right here. So within this training and certification section, this is kind of the database for your system for all of your trainings. This is where you'll define each training in the system. And we have a few set up in here in our demo site, but let's just look at how to add a new one. And it's always your handy blue button up here in the top, say add training/certification. And here you would name it, and you can name it anything you want to, but typically there are specific names for each training. The next piece in here is this drop-down menu right here. And this is either going to be a client-specific training or a certification requirement. The difference here, a client-specific training is a training that is personalized to your individuals. So that would be something like a CARMP for an individual or a behavior training for an individual, anything of that nature. A certification requirement is something that all staff are required to have to perform their duties, whether that's something like CPR or first aid training, or transportation training is something you may come across. So again, the client-specific training is specific to your individuals. The certifications are across all of your staff, so it's not necessarily specific to an individual. It is across the board for your staff. This switch right here, the block note creation switch, what this does is if a staff does not have that training, it will not allow them to create notes for a specific client, or if it's a certification, then it won't allow them to create notes with it until they receive that certification. What I recommend typically when you're setting up this initially, when you're setting up the training system initially, is just to leave that off for all of your trainings until you get a feel for how it's going to work for your agency. And then you can come back in and turn these on. The nice thing about this switch is it allows you to keep your agency safe from lawsuits and things like that. If a staff doesn't have the correct training, they won't be able to document, and you'll be able to prove that to any auditors or agencies that question you. The description box, again, is just a brief description of the training. You can add anything you want in here. You're not going to see it anywhere but in the training and certification list that we were just in. So that is really just for reference purposes for you to keep track of what this specific training means. So let's go back to the training and certification page. And this page is going to give you an overview of all of the trainings and certifications that you input into the system. They're sorted alphabetically by name initially. You can also sort them by certification. You could split them up by certification and client-specific training, or you can split them up by those that block note creation. And you can see all of these here. You can edit any of these with the action column here. We'll just come in and look. You can edit all of the descriptions and things like that, and that is how you're going to view the descriptions of the trainings as well in the edit screen. You can also delete trainings out of here. Keep in mind, deleting trainings out of here will pull it off of all of the staff and clients you have mapped it to. So then now that we've seen this page, this is again how to initially set up your trainings and certifications for your agency. And again, this is the database that the system is going to pull from for your agency when you start mapping the trainings to clients. So the first thing, the next step that we're going to look at, and this is the first step in actually implementing the training system, is we're going to go into clients and we'll look at the client specific trainings first, because they're slightly more involved than the certifications. So let's just take a look at James Bond here. And to get, you'll see this map training button, and we'll get to that in a second, but that is not how you get to the training and certification mapping where you want to be initially. This button does something slightly different, and again, we'll address that in a second. But to get to the training and certification for the clients, to get to the individual specific trainings, it's under the options, and you're looking for training. So we'll jump in here, and the first thing you're going to see, this is going to give you an overview of all of the client's current trainings. So currently the trainings that are linked to this client are CPR, crisis training, and a PT plan. And it'll display some general information over here for you as well. These drop downs will show you the staff that have that training and whether or not it is expired or when it is going to expire. So you can expand and collapse these as you wish, just to get a quick view of your trainings for that specific client. To add a new training, to attach a new training to the client, you come up here and say add client training. And here, in here, it's going to, this is where your list comes from. So we'll add an OT plan for James Bond. Here's the block note creation again. You can turn this on for specific individuals if somebody has a particularly important or very critical training that staff need to have to document for this client. You can turn it on in here as well. Start and end dates for the training, when this training needs to be renewed. You'll put these in here. And then here you'll see a list of services where it's going to be, where you can turn these on to be required. James Bond only has one service in here. So this training is going to be for supported living. But if there are multiple trainings, this training only applies to CCS, you'll just check the CCS box and jump in there. If there's only one service, obviously you just check that box and you're good to go. The description, again, a short description of the training for that client. This is, again, just for reference purposes for you as an agency to keep up with this. And then here at the bottom, it'll show you a list of the active PAs for the client. Now, there's two buttons here at the bottom. There's Save Training and there's Save Training with Mapping to Staff. What this means is the Save Training is just going to save this training, and then you can go manually map it to the staff later on if only a few staff have this training or only a few staff are required to have this training. The Save Training with Mapping to Staff, for a lot of supported living agencies, everybody is mapped to all the clients, And in this instance, what it means that allows staff to jump between locations and individuals. So the save training with mapping to staff will save this training and automatically attach it to all the staff that are already mapped to that client. If you map a new staff to the client later on, you'll have to go in and manually map that training. So we'll just save this training with no mapping. As you can see now, our OT plan is in here for James Bond, and there's nobody attached to it. So no staff users with this training. So how do we add staff to this training? There's two ways to do this, and I'll show you what I believe to be the simpler way initially when you're setting this up. You'll come into staff requirements up here, and staff requirements is going to pull you into this screen. You're going to look for the OT plan, and here it's going to show you all of the staff mapped to that client. So right now there's only 2 staff mapped to this client, Art Admin and Steve Contractor. So to map this training to these, all you have to do is check this box. There's also a map all and an unmap all. And the unmap all will turn all of these off. Map all will turn all of these on for you. And this comes in handy when you're dealing with a large list of staff and all the staff need that training. So there's a save mapping button right here. And now all of the staff have that training. For individual staff, you'll put in expiration dates and training dates under the individual staff members. You can get to that through here, or you can get to that through the staff page, which we'll look at in a second. But I want to back out here real quick, and clicking that training button returns you to this page, and then returning to clients pulls you all the way back to the front. Now I want to discuss this map training button, and what this map training button is going to do. What we just did for the OT plan in there, we went through the list and mapped everybody. This map training button, when you're initially setting it up, can be very useful, because what this does is when you select this button, it's automatically going to map all the trainings that the client has to all of the staff that are attached to that client. So it's kind of a one and done button. You'll have to go in and make individual tweaks down the road, but the map training button allows you, when you're initially setting it up, to just go through and map everything to everything, and then you can come back through and refine. And that allows you to get through the initial setup process a little more quickly. So the next piece I want to look at is, how do we manage the individual staff's training? So that comes in under the staff page. And as we see, we have all our staff here. Again, it's under the options section, or you can get to the section by the staff training and certification up here. But let's go look at the training and certification section under Art Admin. This is going to show a list of all the trainings that Art is currently attached to. So what this means is, we have a certification here that's a swallowing certification. It's not attached to a client, so when it's a certification, these 2 sections will be grayed out. You can put in the date that the training was provided, and right now probably what most agencies are doing with to keep track of their trainings and their certifications is keeping them in an Excel spreadsheet or keeping them on paper, and you'll have all of these dates. So initially when you set this up, just pull from that Excel sheet that you have or your paper list. The training provided date means it's putting in a date that the staff actually took the training. The start date for a certification typically is going to be the date that they completed the training, and then this expiration date is going to be whenever that training expires and has to be re-upped. So a lot of certifications are annual. Some of them are lifetime certifications, so you just leave that expiration date blank. and so on and so forth. So the client-specific trainings, when you're coming in here, this certification column is going to be grayed out. Then you'll be able to select a client, the training, and then put in all of the dates as well. To add a new training or certification to a specific staff, you come in here and say add training and certification, and it's going to pop up a new list down here. Do you see that? Let's do it one more time. So it pulls up this section under here. And again, you select whether it's a certification or a client-specific training. We'll grab, say it's a MANT certification, the date it was provided. So let's say Art Admin took this training today. So we're putting in, yes, he took it today. The training has been completed. If you want to schedule out the date, you can put in a future date and leave this blank, and then all you have to do is come back in and turn this on again. Always remember to save these when you've completed, because if you put a bunch of these in here and then just navigate away, they won't be saved for you. So be sure to select the save button at the end of this. To delete all of the trainings for a staff member, you can use this unmap all button. So be careful with this button because it will remove all of these from this list, and then it can be a headache to add all of that back. To change the staff, you can change the staff member in here. If we want to look at Susan Program, if we want to look at Support Production, if we want to look at Mike Chavez, so on and so forth. So you can quickly get through your list of staff members up here, or you can return to the staff list and go in individually. The staff training and certification button will take you into this same section. It'll just be a blank up here for a staff member, and then you can pull it down in here. So that's how you are going to set up your training and certification system. It does take a little bit of time initially to set this up, but once you have everything in here, the upkeep becomes very simple because all of these dates are going to be spread out through the year, and you just go in maybe once a week or daily and update trainings as needed. Again, if you need any assistance with this, feel free to reach out to us. You can come through into the you can go through the support at itherapydocs.com email address to send in questions, or you can email any of us individually. So that's the entirety of setting up your initially setting up your training and certification system. Now, as far as upkeep and managing this goes, again, you'll use all of these same sections that I just showed you to upkeep, but to stay current with your trainings and certifications, you'll want to utilize the notification system. And the notification system, it's very simple to turn on. For each staff, what you're going to do is come into Manage Roles down here. And for each role, say for my direct care staff, I'm going to say Edit Role Subscriptions, and this is how you set up the notification system if you haven't already been through that training with us. These checkboxes is what all of the direct care staff are going to be notified on. So right now they're being notified on reject, delete, when their passwords expire, their client messages. And here, this staff training expiration, checking this box is what's going to turn on a notification for the individual staff when their trainings are expiring. So they'll get a notification 90 days out, 60 days out, a month out, and then a week out of their expiration dates. So they'll have plenty of time to contact the administrators of the agency and get that training scheduled. So that's for direct care staff, and they're only going to see their trainings and certifications and when they expire. Now, if we turn it on, say, for an administrator, this agency admin, if we turn it on for an administrative role, what that's going to do is show you all of the expirations for your staff. For program managers, it works the same way. All of the staff that they're attached to, they're going to see those expiration dates. And this is how you keep track of your expiration dates on your training and certification. Again, for admins too, you might want to turn on the client expirations, the client training expirations, and what this is going to show you is when the individual specific trainings are going to expire for a client. Say somebody's CARMP has to be renewed at the end of the year, and something like that. And that'll give you a notification when those are about to expire, so you'll know to come into the system and re-up those trainings. The last piece I'm going to show you today is the reports that surround the training and certification system. And they can be found under the reporting tab. And what we're looking for is client-specific training and staff training reports. So let's take a look at these two. The staff training report, you'll have all of your filters up here, so you can narrow it down by staff member. If I only want to look at art admin's trainings, you can narrow it down by expired or about to expire. You can put in specific date ranges. You can also look for specific trainings. So let's go back to all here. And what this is going to show you is it shows you the staff, shows you what their title is within the agency, their role again within the agency. And then here is where the information for the training starts. So this is what this is telling me is art admin has a swallowing training. It's not related to a client. If this section is blank, it means that this is a certification and not an individual specific training. We don't have a training provided date in here. The training has been completed and there is no expiration date. So, and if we look at an individual specific training, this is the client's name is going to appear in this list. Again, here's the training provided date, and this is the OT plan that we just put in earlier. It'll give you the training provided date, the fact that it is completed, and then start and expiration dates of these trainings. So this allows you to keep up with your staff trainings very quickly. The next report we're going to look at is the client-specific training report. And again, here are all your filters. Client filter, training and certification, staff member, service, expiration dates, and client expiration dates. So the way this is gives you similar information, it's just organized differently for you. The way this one is organized, it's going to show you the staff or the client name up here at the top, and then the training is the next piece. So it's going to show you James Bond has CPR and crisis training, and then under here is where these column headers come into play. Under here is where you're going to see Steve Contractor has CPR training for James Bond. It's related to the supported living service, and note block is on. Again, it gives you start and expiration dates of each of these, and the start and expiration dates of the individual specific training is going to be in here. So these are the staff dates. These are the client training date expirations. Both of these reports can be exported to Excel, so you can pull these out of here and manipulate the data however you see fit. Again, I encourage you to get familiar with Excel if you're not already, because it's a very, very useful tool for managing and manipulating the data that is in the system, and it'll allow you to pull out some key indicators for how you are doing as an agency and what things you need to work on, as well as it allows you to manage your data just a little better than we can input into the system. So that's everything you need to know about the training and certification system within iTherapy Docs. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. If you have any immediate questions, I'll leave the webinar open to you guys for a while, and you can use the question and answer section within your Zoom window, or you can raise your hand and I can unmute you and we can discuss whatever it is we need to talk about. So that's all we have for today. Have a great weekend. If I don't hear from you today, we'll talk to you next week. Thanks.